What up, YouTube? What up, Twitch? It's your boy Ermak back at it with another reaction video. Today we're reacting to every P. Diddy scandal in the last 30 years by Law and Crime Daily. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Gang, gang. Make sure you hit the notification bells also.
From hosting now infamous parties to facing a mountain of legal peril, Sean Diddy Combs' fall from grace all culminated in last week's sex trafficking arrest. And while to some his arrest may have come as a shock, for others it may have been a long time coming. But Diddy's recent charges aren't the first controversies the Bad Boy founder has faced over the years. Several other controversies have also plagued the music mogul, as he's had a history of alleged violence, even stemming back to the early 90s. In 1991, Diddy promoted a celebrity basketball game in concert with rapper Heavy D at City College of New York. According to reports, the school's gym had a capacity of a little more than 2,700 people. However, as many as 5,000 people showed up to the event, and security couldn't control the crowd. When organizers closed the door and stopped letting attendees inside, people broke through the gym doors, rushing into the lobby, causing a stampede. 9 people were crushed to death at the bottom of the staircase, and more than 20 others were injured. Then New York City Mayor David Dinkins' administration published a more than 60-page report citing Combs for hiring inadequate and inexperienced security. Combs settled a slew of lawsuits from family members of attendees who died and finalized the last lawsuit in 2000. For many rap fans, it's hard to imagine Diddy, known then as Puffy or Puff Daddy, and Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight were once amicable, but that relationship turned upside down and even turned violent. In 1995, the animosity between Puffy and Suge started when Suge's friend and security guard Jake Robles was shot and killed outside an Atlanta nightclub after an argument with someone from Puffy's Bad Boy entourage. Entourage members of both Puffy and Suge Knight's camp were celebrating Jermaine Dupri's birthday when an argument broke out between Bad Boy and Death Row Records' entourage. An Atlanta PD officer told the LA Times police escorted Puffy and his guests outside to leave the club and
Look at that nigga earring, bro. That's crazy.
thought the coast was clear, allowing Knight and his entourage to leave. The officer who was working security for the party said all of a sudden one of Puffy's men came around the corner with a gun. The officer/security guard told the Times by the time he got back to the front of the club, Shook's security guard was shot multiple times. Robles died weeks later. Diddy denied his involvement in the shooting, but Suge Knight reportedly held him responsible for it. 3 years later, in 1998, Diddy and 2 other men attacked Nas's then manager Steve Stout. According to Rolling Stone magazine, the attack happened after Stout sent MTV a version of Combs and Nas's Hate Me Now, which contained a scene showing Combs as Jesus Christ being crucified. Combs reportedly wanted the crucifixion scene deleted and was furious when it played on air. Stout says Combs and 2 men barged into his New York City office and attacked him with a champagne bottle. He said he was left with a broken arm and jaw. Combs denied any bones were broken, and he would later tell MTV, "I basically went to his office, and what happened in his office I really can't speak about, but I can say this, the way I handled myself in his office was completely wrong, and I've since apologized to Steve about that, and I felt like I just disappointed myself." Combs was charged with second-degree assault and criminal mischief and sentenced to just 1 day in anger management class. There are a lot of tough stories that we cover here at Long Time, and part of the reason we're able to keep bringing you these stories is because of our great sponsor. So I want to really quickly thank Upside for sponsoring us. So if you're wondering what's Upside, it's a free, yes, free app that gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas and groceries. And it's actual real cash back too. The money appears in your Upside app that you can transfer straight into your bank account. So here's what you do. You download the Upside app, then claim an offer for whatever you're buying. I went to 7-Eleven, got some candy and other snacks, used the app, and honestly, it's super easy. You can use the app at places like Shell, Exxon, and fast food favorites like Taco Bell, and that's just to name a few. So to find out how much you could earn, download Upside or click the link in the description and use our promo code LCNews to get 25 cents back on every gallon on your gas. Again, that's promo code LCNews for an extra 25 cents back on your first gallon of gas. A year after the Stout attack in December of '99, Combs and his then protege Jamal Barrow, better known as Shine, and Diddy's then girlfriend Jennifer Lopez were partying at a club in New York City when Diddy knocked a drink out of the hands of a man named Matthew Allen, also known as Scar. Scar got into an argument with Diddy.
All things take time, of course. I guess you just have to be open to it.
Your small business has unlimited potential. Spectrum Business is built to connect you with that potential.
Diddy, and at some point, someone threw money at Diddy's face, and Scar threatened to kill Shine. Prosecutors say all three men drew guns, and Shine shot 3 times into a crowded club. Shine has long maintained while he did fire a weapon at the time, he wasn't the one who injured the club goers. 3 people were shot during the incident. Diddy and his then girlfriend J-Lo, along with Diddy's bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones, fled, but were later pulled over after Diddy's driver ran through a number of red lights. When police searched the car, they found a gun in the car, which led to the then couple getting arrested. Jennifer Lopez was only detained for 14 hours before being released from custody, and she wasn't charged in the case. Diddy got indicted on charges stemming from the incident, including charges of criminal possession of an unregistered gun and attempted bribery for allegedly trying to get his bodyguard Anthony Jones to claim the weapon was his. Diddy's protege Shine was convicted of 2 counts of assault, reckless endangerment, and gun possession, while Diddy and his bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones were acquitted on all charges. Shine was sentenced to 10 years in prison. In 2001, Combs was sued by his former girlfriend Kim Porter for additional child support for their then 3-year-old son Christian Combs. But a settlement was reached in 2002 after a year of litigation. Then in 2005, Combs and the publishing company Random House reached a settlement after the company said he was given a $300,000 advance for a memoir he was supposed to finish in 1999, but never completed the book, and the deal was scrapped. 2 years later, in 2007, consultant James Sabatino sued Combs for $19 million, alleging the Bad Boy founder never paid him in full for a recording he made of the rapper Biggie in 1994, but the suit was dismissed in 2009. Also in 2007, an LA partygoer accused the mogul of punching him in the face as he was leaving a post-Oscars hotel event. While Diddy's attorney said the complaint was just another example of an opportunist seeking to fabricate a lawsuit, a settlement was reached in 2008. However, the terms weren't disclosed. In 2010, Combs was sued for $12 million for age discrimination by a music executive. Francesca Sparrow reportedly said in her suit she had a falling out with the mogul after having hip surgery, and alleged the producer told her she could no longer run around and earn too much money for someone who could no longer keep up with his fast-paced lifestyle. Combs' company denied she was let go because of her age, but Combs settled the multi-million-dollar lawsuit in 2011. Also in 2011, Gustavo...
I mean, yeah, he's settling to get them the fuck out the way. They begging and shit. You know what I'm saying? Here, it's like throwing breadcrumbs to the birds and shit.
Garces Paparazzo filed a lawsuit which alleged Diddy's bodyguards assaulted him on New Year's Eve as he took a picture of him at a hotel in Miami. A settlement was reached in 2017, and Garces agreed to receive $35,000 in exchange for releasing Combs, his bodyguards, and their insurance company from liability. Then in 2013, Diddy was allegedly involved in an altercation with rapper J. Cole during the 2013 MTV Video Music Awards after party. Multiple sources told Complex Magazine Diddy was visibly intoxicated when he approached rapper Kendrick Lamar about his rap verse on Big Sean's Control, where Lamar said he was the king of New York. Combs reportedly tried to pour a drink on Lamar before J. Cole stepped in, and they got into a fight. Both J. Cole and Diddy denied a fight even took place, but J. Cole later rapped on his 2021 song Let Go My Hand, "My last scrap was with Puff Daddy, who would have thought." The following year, Diddy would get into another alleged altercation with another famous rapper. In 2014, Diddy and Drake allegedly got into a physical dispute when Combs allegedly punched Drake over the rights to the beat that would become Drake's 0 to 100. According to the Miami New Times, the two got into an argument that turned into blows during a DJ Khaled event in which Diddy allegedly told Drake, "You will not disrespect me." But Combs would later deny punching Drake, telling The Breakfast Club, "I didn't do nothing to Drake. Drake is my friend." 6 months after that incident, Combs reportedly got into an altercation with his son's football coach at UCLA. Diddy was present for his son Justin Combs' football practice when the assistant coach told Justin, "I don't care if your dad's here. This is UCLA. I'm going to treat you just like I treat everyone else." Diddy seemingly didn't like the coach speaking to his son that way. Diddy and Justin reportedly went to the coach's office after practice. An argument broke out between Diddy and the coach. Diddy was arrested for allegedly swinging a kettlebell at the assistant coach and charged with assault with a deadly weapon. but Diddy's reps claimed he was acting in self-defense. Ultimately, prosecutors reduced Diddy's charges to a misdemeanor. In 2017, a former chef of Diddy's alleged she was regularly made to prepare and serve food to Diddy and his guests while they engaged in sexual acts. At the time, a spokesperson for Diddy told Variety it was a frivolous lawsuit by a disgruntled ex-employee who was fired for cause. However, in February of 2019, the lawsuit was settled for an undisclosed amount. In 2019, Diddy's ex-girlfriend Gina Hoyan told controversial blogger Tasha
You're the reason we start our day at 2 a.m. At Today in LA, we work hard to make sure that your stories are heard.
The stomach to the point she couldn't breathe, and also punched her in the back of the head. In the podcast, she said went and did Ventura's 2023 federal lawsuit against Diddy and his federal indictment the following year. Since November of 2023, Diddy faced several lawsuits for sexual misconduct. Across the various suits, Diddy was accused of heinous acts including sexual assault, gang rape, drugging women and men, sex trafficking, and racketeering. And out of the tsunami of lawsuits he faced, he only settled one, and that was with ex-girlfriend Cassie. Then in March of 2024, his Los Angeles and Miami homes were raided by the feds. Their agents covered AR-15s, drugs, and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. About 9 months after Cassie's suit was filed and settled, Diddy was arrested in New York City for sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Unlike the controversies he's faced in the past, it doesn't seem like the mogul will be skating away from his charges. After 2 federal judges ruled to keep him locked up until trial out of concern he might intimidate witnesses. At this time, no trial date is set, so the mogul will be waiting out his day in court in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York. Well, this is a great time to bring on attorney and former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani. Nima, thank you so much for being with me today. One thing I found pretty interesting after going through a lot of Sean Combs, aka Diddy's controversies over the years, is one, there seems to be this pattern of violence and intimidation, but there's also this pattern of denial and settling. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and there's been a lot of reports, Rolling Stone especially went back all the way to his college days and interviewed a lot of people. So there does appear to be a pattern, but I agree with you, and it doesn't matter if you're Harvey Weinstein or Donald Trump or Sean Combs. There are individuals that will dig their heels in and defend and deny, and that's their strategy, both from a legal and PR perspective. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. The challenge is when you have victim after victim telling the same story of physical and sexual violence, you get all the way to a jury. That's hard for jurors to disbelieve. Maybe if it's just one victim, you might have a chance. And a recent example was Bill Cosby. The first time he was prosecuted, there was one victim, there was one prior bad acts witness, and the jury hung. But the second time he was prosecuted based on one victim, and I believe 5 other prior bad acts witnesses, so 6 total, and the jury convicted. Obviously, the conviction was overturned later for unrelated reasons, but when you have so many individuals telling the same story, it's no longer a he said, she said type situation. It's something more, and that's how you end up losing.
And given this pattern that we've seen throughout the years, do you think people just initially chalked it up to being the lifestyles of the rich and famous, and even that this is what people do in the rap and the hip-hop industry?
There's part of that. I live in Los Angeles and in Hollywood. There are a lot of people who are desperate to break in. Doesn't matter whether it's music, TV, movies, and they'll do anything. And there's a great disparity in wealth and power. So historically over the years, we've heard about the casting couch. Obviously, these freak-offs are something very, very different. And there's that force, that coercion. But I think people were afraid for their career. They were afraid no one would believe them. That's why Cassie Ventura is so incredibly important in this case. Obviously, she was Diddy's girlfriend of more than a decade. And when she decided to come forward in November of last year, that really opened the floodgates and encouraged others. So people thought, well, maybe with respect to Diddy, maybe I had a limited interaction. But if his girlfriend of so many years is willing to come and tell all these deep, dark secrets and make them public, then maybe that gives me a voice as well, and that empowers me. It's essentially a Me Too type situation.
Are you surprised that Diddy has never faced any real type of punishment in the past? You have the 1999 nightclub shooting. He was acquitted. He allegedly fought other rappers. He used a kettlebell to hit his son's football coach. Prosecutors reduced those charges to a misdemeanor. He had an ex-girlfriend, even prior to Cassie, come out and say she was abused by him during their relationship. Why do you think he wasn't held accountable before?
That's a great question, and I think
Because the nigga's rich. That's why.
you know, prosecutors tend to be conservative. They don't want to take the case unless they know it's really a bulletproof case. It's surprising, even though you think that they're there to protect the public. I've been on the other side. I've been a prosecutor, and prosecutors are always expected to win, and a loss is so devastating to them personally and professionally and to their career. And with someone like Diddy, if you're a prosecutor, that he's going to push the case the entire way. I mean, we saw it with the J-Lo nightclub shooting, right? He pinned it on his security guard, and he was acquitted outright. So even in a case like this, one of the reasons prosecutors were so gun-shy is they know if I charge Diddy, the case isn't going to resolve. There's no plea that I can offer, certainly not any that Diddy would accept. So I need to be prepared to take this case the entire way. And if you're the prosecution, maybe you're concerned that the victims might go sideways. Maybe Diddy pays them off. Some of them have filed civil lawsuits, right? Maybe they don't show up to trial, or maybe they're afraid of Combs and his entourage because of the reported threats of violence. So they probably wanted to make sure that they have all their ducks in a row, because again, it's the type of case that if you're charged, you got to be prepared to push it the entire way.
And I think some may have wondered why, from November of 2023, when Cassie's suit was filed and settled, to the raids in March of just this year, did it take so long for Diddy to be arrested? Explain to me what kind of all goes into a case of this magnitude from the federal government, who, as we've just kind of been talking about, when they swing, they don't really miss.
Elizabeth, that's a great question. And frankly, I was a little underwhelmed when the indictment was unsealed. Obviously, Cassie's bombshell lawsuit started this whole process, but there's been 8 or 9 other civil lawsuits filed against Diddy and others. And when the homes were raided in March, Diddy's Miami and Los Angeles homes, I expected an indictment within days or weeks. That's typically how it works, because if you don't charge someone right away, they may flee, they may obstruct justice, tamper with witnesses or evidence, which allegedly happened here, at least according to the government. So waiting 6 months, I thought we're going to get a bombshell lawsuit, maybe a dozen defendants that work for Diddy, maybe some other rich and famous celebrities, certainly more victims. The indictment only identifies one victim.
Bro thinks it's a TV show.
It appears to be Cassie herself. And I know U.S. Attorney Damian Williams says the investigation is ongoing, but the question I have is
the nerve of this nigga to wear a cross. We did that shit. He did some gay shit. They was probably about to go to a freak off right then and there. You feel me? They was role playing right there. like she's like the masculine, because that's why she got like this shirt on and all this weird shit like that. And he got this shit out. Like this shit just screams weird.
It's taking so long when all these individuals have come forward.
And when it comes to Diddy's federal sex trafficking case, will prosecutors be looking at his pattern after 2008, 2009? Or is it possible they could even look into his pattern even before then to kind of help make their case?
So there's 2 types of, or really 3 crimes that can come in. The first is anything that's substantively within the statute of limitations. And usually, for many federal crimes, it's a 5-year statute. Sex trafficking, some of them have no statute now, but that's something that changed in 2022. So the first set is crimes that fit squarely within the statute of limitations. Then you'll have what I call our RICO predicate acts. So those are acts that qualify under RICO, even though they may be state charges, and even though they may be barred by the statute of limitation. The best example of that is the 2016 video of Diddy beating Cassie Ventura at the Intercontinental Hotel here in Los Angeles in Century City. I mean, we've all seen that. That's something that's outside the statute of limitations, so it can't be charged in California, but it can still be a RICO predicate act, because all you need is 2 or more acts within a 10-year period, as long as one of the acts is within the 5-year statutory period. So you have your RICO predicate acts that can come in. And the last category is what we will call prior bad acts, 404B evidence. Like you said, Elizabeth, things that show a pattern of physical and sexual violence. And that's really up to the discretion of the judge. He or she needs to determine, in this case, Judge Carter, the district judge, whether he's going to allow that evidence in. And if it does, then that can really expand the conduct that we see in this case. And, we talked about other sexual assault cases. I mentioned Cosby, I mentioned Weinstein. A lot of the strong evidence in that case was the prior bad acts evidence that wasn't charged, but showed a pattern of those individuals sexually assaulting women. So that comes in, that's going to be really bad evidence for Diddy.
In your opinion, given Diddy's history of essentially using his power and wealth to kind of make things just go away for him, what type of uphill battles are the prosecution facing right now?
Significant, because you're talking about someone with essentially unlimited means. He's reportedly worth $1 billion, but even if he's worth $100 or a few $100 million, that's a lot of money to spend on lawyers, and it's also a lot of money to pay victims. Now, obviously, even if someone receives a payment, they're still under subpoena and they'll have to testify, but their motivation to testify may be very different if they're paid off in a civil lawsuit. Now, some of the allegations that we heard during that detention hearing and in that detention memo, according to the government, was during this time period, from March until September, it was reportedly contacting witnesses and telling them that this was all consensual. That's important because consent is really a defense in this case. Sex trafficking requires force, fraud, or coercion. People can engage in all sorts of sexual activity as consenting adults. It might be weird, might even be freaky, but doesn't make it illegal. So if it was consensual, then Diddy wins. The government needs to prove that it wasn't.
And outside of just it being consensual, in your opinion, what type of route do you think the defense will also have?
Well, it's going to be a cross-examination case. The two big categories of evidence are the video and the witness testimony. Video is incredibly strong because witnesses can lie, even the victims can lie, but video doesn't lie. And again, going back to that Cassie video, example I give is Diddy denied everything. Said this was all a shakedown, extortion, a money grab when those civil plaintiffs filed the lawsuits. Even Cassie, even though he settled the lawsuit the very next day, there was no admission of anything. But that video, once it came out in May, it was so powerful. Diddy was compelled to explain himself. Now, I don't think the apology was wholehearted by any stretch. I don't think it was very genuine, but it was still something. It was still some sort of admission. So I think the video is the strongest evidence that the prosecution evidence. And the irony is, I think that he took these videos for his sexual pleasure, but also to hold over the participant to make sure that he could have control over them if necessary. And that video is going to be very damning evidence used against him. But the other is going to be the witness testimony. And I think the defense case is likely going to be based on cross-examination. We know one of the lines is going to be that it's all about money. The reason that people are testifying and reporting these crimes to law enforcement is that they want to sue Diddy and they want to make money off it. So that's going to be one line. Obviously, if anyone has lied in the past or there's any other evidence that comes in that they were less than honest, I think that will be used during cross-examination as well. But I think the best defense in this case for Diddy's lawyers are going to be to try to show that the people that are testifying are lying.
All right, well, Nima, great analysis. Before I sign you off, anything else about this case that you'd like to add?
No, it's a fascinating case that has it all, right? Sex, drugs, violence, celebrities. It's going to go to trial. I'm sure it's something that we're going to be talking about for quite some time.
All right, Nima Rahmani, thank you again so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, Elizabeth.
And Sean Combs, aka Diddy, pleaded not guilty to the charges, and his lawyer declared his innocence after he was denied bail last week, saying in part he's innocent and they believe they can win at trial. His next scheduled court date is slated for October 9th. Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Elizabeth Milner.
Alright, y'all make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Gang gang.